Happy Monday, July 2nd, 2018. We're coming to you live from Nashville, Tennessee and Destin, Florida.
Wow.
It is 10:49 Central Standard Time, and we're happy to be with you this morning. So we appreciate you joining us, taking the time to start your week here with especially Mike, age group extraordinaire. I'm Coach Robbie, and in case you just stumbled upon us, this is the Crushing Iron Triathlon podcast.
Yeah, and if there's any doubt to the consistency of this podcast, this is
any doubt.
Like 175 every Monday and Thursday for about 2 years. And Robbie is on vacation.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote. And we're, cranking out a podcast.
Yeah, and as we are working and cranking on a podcast, somebody within at least 2 to 3 balconies is getting high as a kite right now. Man,
that's what happens down in Destin, man.
There is a heavy stench of the old chiba, the old grass, the old marijuana. Somebody's having a nice joint to kickstart their July 4th week holiday. But hey, whatever.
Hey man, it's senior spring break in July down there, right?
That's true. They could be like a 65-year-old gentleman with glaucoma. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
good
hey,
for him.
That's right. Some people like to start their day with weed, and some of us like to start the day with the nice triathlon podcast. So if you're choosing that, or you're even choosing both, we appreciate you joining us today. But yeah, on vacation, spent some time with the family, picked up my mom at the airport this morning, and we are. Hayden was like super pumped to see her, obviously. So we're here till Friday, and then back at it and back home. But yeah, things are good. It's crazy because the weather's actually cooler here than it is back in Nashville, and I know even north of Nashville, in Kentucky and Illinois, we've had a ton of athletes training and stuff. And I know that racing and training has been just incredibly tough the last few days, but with the crazy heat wave that we're going through here in the Midwest and the South, and even I think up in the Northeast. So hope everybody is training safe, and we got a good podcast to do. We're going to touch on a very awesome post that one of our forum members put up. I believe it was yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was yesterday. And then later on in the show, we're going to announce our team races for 2019.
Yep, we're going to announce our first of our 3 major team races, and then on the next podcast we will be announcing some additional what we would call C26 regional races. And let's be honest, it's we're never going to make everybody happy, but B, it's hard to be everywhere at one time. And I'm pretty happy with what we picked, especially with the 3 main team races. And then I'm really actually super pumped about the regional races that we've picked as well. And hey, when you got to blend in family and work and travel and camps and our races and our training schedule, I figured, honestly, after we spoke this morning a little bit earlier before we recorded, now that I kind of look at it on paper, I think we're covering pretty much every. We're not covering every zip code, but we are covering.
No, that's a goal.
That's a goal, but we are going. Let's just say, we're going coast to coast next year.
Whoa!
And we're gonna be happy to meet everybody as best we can in between there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're doing the right stuff here. Yeah, we also have to think about, when we make these choices, we're kind of looking at, where people are listening to the podcast and where our athletes live and all these sorts of things. And we're trying to do the best we can to make everybody sort of happy, because, that's not our job to make them happy, but, they should be happy on their own.
Exactly. We do the best we can.
And if you're sitting in a cubicle right now and you've been sitting there all morning, I demand you get up for a little walk.
Yes, walk it out.
Walk those hips out a little bit, because that is really causing some serious damage.
It can.
That can be the reason you tighten up on the run. Think about it. Get up and walk around every hour. I'm trying to do that.
Yep, it
Well,
could be. So,
sort of a sign.
do you want to? We'll announce those later on in the podcast. But let's start off with. Do you want to read that story? Or do you want me to from the post from yesterday? I thought it was from Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin Frost, I believe.
I thought you could give. Can I give out a quick shout out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is half your show anyway.
I'd like to give a shout out to my 10:17 run.
Oh, you didn't tell me you were doing a shameless personal plug. I thought you were gonna like give it out to somebody else. You didn't tell me you're about to go on like humble brag 24/7.
I'm trying to turn it into like the next Hansen method.
Ah, gotcha. Oh god, yeah. The next Hansen method.
Hey, listen, I just wanted to throw it out there because it has been super hot, and this is a really tough time to run, I think, for most people. And I don't know, man, what my and maybe I'll do a blog post on this. We don't have to talk about it, but I just wanted to throw it out there that I've really kind of found a new spark in running, and it's a weird time to find a spark in running, but
it is.
I ran this morning, and I'm actually thinking about doing a split run today.
What? Whoa.
I know. It's just weird. But I just wanted to throw that out there because if people are struggling with running, maybe we can, maybe you can contact me at crushingiron@gmail.com and talk about the 10:17 method.
Soon to have its own Twitter handle
and ebook.
And
Twitter
handle.
The 10:17 method. Don't steal that. I need to
run. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll make sure you get that before we go. And do you mind if I give out a shout out too?
Please do.
I'm great.
I'm great.
Since we're doing personal shout-outs today.
You're doing great. Now, thanks for joining us on your vacation. I think I just want to make that clear that I appreciate that. Even though, we can kind of consider our life a vacation in some method.
Yeah, it's the least I could. It's the least I could do. If you can create the 10:17 run, I can come to you. I can come to the Crushing Iron community on vacation. And speaking of the Crushing Iron community, we do, if you like the conversation that we have, or you want to be a part of it, or you want to lurk for 8 or 9 months and then finally introduce yourself, you can find us on Facebook. Crushing Iron Group is the search, and from time to time we kind of use, we always kind of use the Facebook group is kind of like a good direction for a lot of our podcasts, but sometimes there's a really, really good post that we kind of want to make the center of it. And so I thought yesterday's there was a post by one of our forum members. His name is Kevin Frost.
Welcome, Kevin.
Kevin,
we welcome Kevin to the podcast. Wait, no, he's not joining us.
Kevin to the podcast. And I'll do a quick scripture reading from Crushing Iron, Kevin Frost. And he says, in light of recent podcasts, I thought I'd share today's run. A bit long, but wanted to share. I was doing a couple of out and back loops in my Middle Tennessee suburban neighborhood. You find houses with small lots next to those with pastures and livestock. It is redneck heaven. After about 4.5 miles on my second loop, Ed, an older neighbor, about upper 70s, in his overalls, waved and asked me if I thought his garden, which is in the front of his house, was coming along okay. I had met him about 2 weeks ago when on a morning run, another neighbor, mid-80s, had collapsed on his morning walk and a small group was waiting on the EMTs. Ed, yes, Ed has pigs, told me his wife had passed away 2 months ago and to come over and visit any time. So today he flags me down, and I thought I'd stop to chat for just a minute. Well, rain is threatening, and I really wanted to get on with my run, but then I'm invited to see his upholstery workshop.
That's always good.
I know, which is always one. So I get the tour, the workshop, the gator he's rebuilding, and the back porch. He says, I guess Ed says, I used to call it a lying porch, but now I don't have many people to lie to. So finally we shake hands, goodbye, and it's thundering. I didn't get all of the run I wanted to, but I think a lonely man got the visit that he needed. And I know the man who owns the piglets who have chased me along the fence line, and I now know one neighbor just a little bit better. I can run tomorrow.
That is it, dude.
It is. It is a awesome post, and I mean, talk about keeping perspective and where, triathlon and, it's funny because like triathlon is such an important part of our lives and it influences many things, but it doesn't need to be the sole focus of our life. And I think this is just a really great reminder of what's important, like what's really important and what's not. And, I told you when we called earlier, like I thought about this on a smaller scale yesterday when I was running with Hayden, and where he's never really been to he was at the beach when he was really, really young, but he's never been here before, and he can talk and see things. So we're running along the bay, and he sees boats and turtles and water and all these kind of different kind of birds and stuff. And I was thinking, I was like, it's like I can always tell kind of where my mind or where my mind is and where my relationship with training is by how willing I am to stop mid-run and take a moment. And
yeah, that's good.
And like yesterday, we're seeing, I'm like, oh, why not? Like, why do I have to keep, why can't I just stop and take a moment? And because there are all these experiences that happen no matter where we are. Because, the trail that we run on too, we see all kinds of stuff by our house and on the trail. Like he's seen snakes, deer, roosters, turkey, I mean, he's seen everything on these runs we go. Been and sometimes I've not stopped. So don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not perfect at it. But more oftentimes than not, especially now, I find myself just stop and take a minute. And really, what's that gonna do? And the only person that really cares is you. And so I just think that Kevin sharing this, kudos to him for taking the time, and I guarantee you that this Ed character, neighbor Ed as we'll call him, his day was much more enriched with this visit and connection with Kevin than Kevin would have been had he finished his run. Because he probably, honestly, if he had just kind of blown Ed off, I imagine he would have felt some guilt post-run, and that wouldn't have been beneficial for anybody.
Oh, guilt, dude. I was thinking about that today. But let me take that story, in my mind, even a step forward. I think that's how you change the world. It's those little moments. It's
agree.
I get so, I guess, perplexed by this, it seems like a lot of people are literally want to change the world, and that means reshape the Constitution or change relations with international relations and things like that with a tweet or something like that, but won't stop and say hey to a neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that those kind of stories like that are I really love when people can, stop and say hi and look people in the eye and, hold door, whatever the case may be. Little things tend to the part of the garden you can reach. It's kind of a Zen proverb or something. But, I totally agree, man. It's the guilt with me, about it's so much better to run and train free of guilt. And, those are the little things that, like you're saying, it's Hayden might have wanted to do something, and you just, for whatever reason, one day can't, find it in your body and your heart to stop and show him a turtle or something. And I feel that way, if I don't walk my dog or something like that before I run, and it's a weird juxtaposition, but I'm just so glad he shared that story because it's stuff that we need more of, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddies and I went out and rode Natchez Trace the other Saturday, and
Saturday,
and we decided going in it wasn't going to be a ball buster trace ride. It was going to be, let's just go out and ride a couple hours and just see how it goes, and we did, man. And I got done and I felt good about it, and I just felt and I looked at our time wasn't even that far off of normal if I would have been quote unquote pushing it. And we just kind of cruised and did our thing and had an enjoyable time and kind of talked and rode a little bit hard at times. And it was just really an enjoyable thing. And it just really got me thinking about this whole idea of when you push yourself, how tense does that make you? And does that, is it counterintuitive sometimes? Because you see, sometimes... you watch some of these pro triathletes on the run or whatever, and they just seem like they're just not even trying.
Mm-hmm.
And how important it is to relax and be able to just soak in the experience and let your body flow. That's where my head goes when I think of, like, we always just want to grind and hit every number and like force it in. And even when I'm doing these 10-17 runs and I'm trying to slow down, I can feel myself forcing it instead of just letting the body relax. And I kind of went off on a tangent there, but you know what I'm talking about, right? It's like,
no, I totally it's like, I think a lot of it has to do with just like when things like you hear, I think athletes in every sport, they either say like it's in the zone or it feels effortless, or it's like where everything just kind of comes together. And I think that the only like real way and the only time you even have that opportunity for things to feel, quote unquote effortless or smooth or in a groove or, whatever you want to say, like it's just all coming together. You have to have like, I don't want to say 100% total harmony with your life, but pretty close to it.
Well, that's optimum. Yeah, for sure.
It is. Yeah, exactly. Optimum. Yeah, like in order to, optimum results, in performance, you need everything to go about as well as it can. And then I think if you have your head in the right place, I can't tell you how many times like I've heard from athletes, and athletes have commented that I work with, and it's like, yeah, I really went out too fast, and I really tried to force this run because I felt like I just needed it. And then they end up having a poor run. You see it, and you hear it all the time. I'm sure everybody, if you've been in the sport long enough, everybody's done it. Like you go out with this, like, I need this run to be this for me. Like I'm going to make this run what it is. And a lot of times it's the opposite. Running makes you who you are, and not like, not vice versa. And more oftentimes, like the best runs and the most energizing runs are when like you keep your head up and you look around and you let the run and your body kind of lead the way, and then your mind gets shaped into whatever the day brings. And just being aware. I can't remember if this was you or somebody else told me, like after the last camp. I mean, you and I have ridden the trace, probably over 100 times. And was it you that told me like this was the first time you've ever like taken the time to like look around?
Yeah, that was in camp.
Yeah. It's like it's like we forget like the opportunities that we have and the things that we can see when we do this sport, and the places that we can go, and you're out in nature and doing these things, and it's like something we do. We just forget to look around, and we forget to soak in everything. And I think if we're so stressed about forcing things, then you leave a void of that opportunity to even exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's that forcing yourself to whatever it is, run faster, or ride faster, whatever, that can cause like a disconnect between that harmony in your body and what's really going on. It's I think about like it seems like that's always the case for me. Really, it's kind of weird, but like my favorite swim ever was Louisville, because I committed my first ever Louisville. I committed to just sort of looking around and soaking in the bridges and the scenery and being in a river with all these people, and I was just so relaxed, man. It's sort of like if you do the work and you can figure out how to relax it, your body will just take care of things. It's like, and swimming's a weird one because you start overthinking your form and getting in these weird places and, rushing and it's like, what are you trying to save a minute?
Exactly.
And invariably, like I was doing that yesterday, I was doing hundreds at the pool, and I was kind of like mixing up, quote unquote, my hard efforts with, just kind of being steady. And I'm just, it's like 3-second difference, it's not really. And it's like night and day effort for me sometimes. It's a weird balance, but if you can just be relaxed and just not overthink everything,
Yep.
People on the bike think that way. It's like, am I stroke right?
God,
Like when I'm yesterday at the lab, I was doing like a 40-minute interval, I guess, to try. Like I'm doing Olympic coming up, so I'm kind of trying to set that table a little bit. But man. Sometimes when you just relax and let that stroke happen, man, it just takes care of itself.
You're so right, and we talk about this all the time in terms of like how you structure your training and how you prioritize effort is about return on investment. And I think so oftentimes the part of that we miss is in the training that we do and the things that we can see and the perspective that we have. Like when it comes to like a return on investment, like you go do a run like Percy Warner and you know it's hard and you're not going to be staring at your watch the whole time, you know, because you know for a fact it's not going to be a PR run.
Yeah. It's huge.
And you're not obsessed with the pace, but in allowing yourself to kind of disconnect from that, you also like open up the opportunity to do this thing called keeping your eyes up and looking around, and soak in, like, you know, anybody who has run Percy Warner, been to camp, like, it's as hard as it is, it's one of the most beautiful places to run. And if you're staring at your watch the whole time, you miss all of it. And the same could be said for a place like the Trace. And I get it. Like sometimes you need to look at your watch for intervals, but like if the thing that you look at the most when you go out and ride 60, 70 miles on a place like Natchez Trace Parkway, and the most common thing you look at is your Garmin Edge 500, then you've kind of missed the point. You know, of the whole, and I get it. Like it's important, it's right there, but like, and you want to work hard. And listen, I'm not telling you there's not a time and a place for it, because there is. And I'm not telling you that sometimes I go out there and the thing that I look at the most is that. But more oftentimes than not, like, you looking right, looking left, like soaking in, and just like sometimes I think we just forget like the places our body can take us, and where the things that we can see, and then how much we get back from it, and like stopping, whatever. If you want to stop like mid ride or mid run and take a picture of your face, then go for it. I don't think that's a huge deal, but don't forget to like make sure you and enjoy what's out there, because I think it makes things more fulfilling, and I think it just gives you an overall better appreciation for A, what you're able to do, but B, like I kind of said before when we were reading Kevin's post, was that like, yes, is triathlon like a huge important part of our life? Absolutely. But it's not the most important part of our life. Like, I think, you know, and it's all depends on how you want to word it, but you know, triathlon shouldn't be the main part of your life, but it should help, or what's the word I'm looking for? It should help and enhance every other part of your life. You know, instead of being the sole focus and life suck and time suck, because like, you know, perfect example of Kevin and what he did on this run is basically the total opposite of what most triathletes find themselves doing, which is always about me. It's about my run. It's about my time. It's about my PRs. It's about my pace. It's about my, you know, Strava records, and it's about my Garmin Connect posts, and it's about, look what I did today. And that's not, you know, what am I training for, and what's your training stress score, and what's your HRV, and what's your FDP? You know, it's like this is mine. Well, he took the time to like remember, like a run is really just a run, you know. And like I think you said it, like I can't remember on podcast, you were like, guess how many people really truly care that you just did an Ironman? Pretty much nobody. You know, I mean, and yes, is that really honestly true? Like, no, but you get the picture. Like, I was joking about this with, I think, Summer Scandridge when she came in for camp for a day or two before she had to leave, but it was like, still to this day, 99% of my family members that I've been doing this for like 15 years, I'll go do like an Ironman, and they're like, so how was your run? And I'm just like, so they don't. Like, people listen and they say they care and they congratulate you, but like they don't really know, you know. And so it's just like remembering, you know, like still to this day, and like, how long is that again? And you do all that in one day, and what order is it in? And you're like, 15 years, we've talked about a ton, you've never listened once. You don't really care. You just care that I'm happy, you know. And so that's all that matters, and that's all we should care about too, is that we're happy. And that we make the, you know, we're not always going to be perfect. We're not always going to make the best decisions that we can ever in anything in life. But in training, you know, it's just like that, like just to make more times than not is to make those kind of decisions that are good and make us feel good versus judging on if it's good or not by what the watch tells us.
Yeah. Well, when I think about what you said about the Garmin, riding for miles and miles, and just kind of looking down at the bike computer, and how, I mean, the reality is, I think, you can go maybe just as fast, if not faster, if you are looking up. And I mean, for sure in the run, like if you get caught up in looking at your watch all the time, and you're I know that I run faster when I'm looking at the horizon. And, because that's better form. You got your head up, you're leaning in a little bit. And otherwise, like what happens is most of us kind of start, especially when you get tired, you start looking at the ground, closer to your feet. And really that kind of takes out the whole body experience, because your senses are kind of going inward a little bit more than seeking out to embrace the whole spirit of the run or the ride or whatever you might want to call it. And to me, I just think that's an underrated. So it's like you can sit there and focus on your pace and look at your watch and your computer or whatever, but I just think maybe you can go faster if you don't do that all the time. And I've been doing on my 10:17 run. I hate to keep shooting that out, but
I can already tell you that the title of the podcast is going to be Mike and his 10:17 run.
That'll be the
subtitle, and a little bit about Kevin Frost post. So it's going to be.
Yeah, well, I do have that control.
Hey, you do have that control.
But when I first started doing it is a few weeks ago, I would look at my watch a lot to make sure that I was not dipping below the 10-minute pace like I want to go slow. But now I've forced myself to start looking every quarter mile only. And what happens is interesting. I've just been kind of running and trying to feel that run and just feel this natural cadence of that 10-minute mile. And what's happening is I'm starting to dip a lot further than I used to, and it feels like the same effort. And of course I've been running a lot more, but it's interesting to me that's what I want. I want this whole thing to just start inching down, because and naturally, without forcing myself to run certain paces. I've been thinking about how they talk about this concept of shredding muscles, like when you weight lift or you're out shredding that ride or whatever. And really what that is isn't that what happens is muscle fiber shreds or tears or whatever, and then it rebuilds?
Yeah, you tear it down and you rebuild it to be able to withstand, the next time it's going to happen.
Yeah, so I've really been kind of trying to think about this idea of, not really shredding it like, from a tear perspective, the injury perspective, and that micro tear, and like in other words, tearing it sort of when I'm ready to shred it a little bit, rather than digging that well way too deep out of the gate, and getting yourself in a hole. But I think that, I have to build, obviously, and that's how muscle builds itself. But to keep that under control and run, and for me, that's been one of the things, is that whole concept of looking around and being in the moment a lot more, and it's just making things more enjoyable. I mean, really, how can staring at a bike computer for 6 hours be enjoyable? I just don't know how you do that.
Yeah, well, it's like, you and I talk about too, like a lot of times, is that for some of us, like, we find ourselves in the sport in need of some kind of version of a more healthy, masochistic way to treat ourselves.
Yeah,
like we need pain in our lives, because we know we already have pain, so we need like equal healthy pain to even out like pain that we're dealing with in our personal lives, or post-trauma, or relationships, or business, or whatever it is, like, like whatever it can be. And like we have one of my favorite podcasts was about pain. And you and I talk about our experience of pain, how we do things, and it's like, oh, well, I've got this healthy alternative. to pain. Like, I think people jokingly say this all the time about triathlon. It's like, oh, well, there's worse addictions to have, or there's worse ways to spend money, or there's worse things to have, like an unhealthy obsession about, like, those kind of things. But in training, like, a lot of athletes like to beat themselves up.
Yep.
And like that feeling of, oh, I just couldn't do it, but it was epic, and like all, I'm like, well, I was reading this article that Steve Magnus put out earlier today, and the title, I'll just read the title of it. It's Training to Failure, is it good or bad? And basically says like why you have to win more workouts than you lose. And that's totally counterintuitive to like you have to like, beat yourself down every single day in order to feel like you're getting better. Like that's not how it's supposed to feel. Like you have to go out for in my opinion, like 90%, maybe even plus of your workouts need to feel like I just did it. And then that falls in line with what I talk about as a coach when I'm like, listen, and I know I beat this to death, but 10% of your workouts, you're going to fail miserably. And sometimes it might not even be because the workout was meant to be that kind of a challenge, even though sometimes they are. Sometimes it's just like the cards that life deal you. No sleep, you've been sick, you're super stressed, it's 108 degrees outside. Well, guess what won? The workout probably is going to seem like it won, but more often times it's just like life plus workout equals you lose. Like so most of the times that's just how it ends up. And then 80% of the time you finish it, you complete it, but it's not fancy. And then the other 10% of the time it's like you blow it out of the water and you can't remember ever having done a workout that great. Like that's so 90% of the time you win, 10% of the time you feel like you're losing, but you're really not. Again, it's like it's that you didn't, the heat beat you, life beat you, the stress, it got you today, but let's not let it get you tomorrow. That's not the point. And honestly, if you feel like you're getting beaten down every single day, then you are losing. And whether you're prescribing your own workouts or whether you have a coach prescribing your workouts, if you feel like you just can't win every single day, then something's not right. More of your days should be I can do this than I don't think I can or I can't. And a lot of times I'll have athletes say, okay, can I do a little bit more? I'm like, it's not always about like, like the old adage of like weightlifting, like training to failure. That's just recently. I don't know if it's just recently, but that's been like I've read papers recently. It's like that's not even like the best way to train. It's not the best thing for your body. And so I just think that the same thing goes with our training life, is that it should be more of a I can and I will versus it's going to crush me. And I think that's like what you were kind of saying with your whole 10-17 thing. It's been like, hey, I can do this today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, because it's that can that also leads to the other biggest C that we talk about, and that's consistency.
Yep.
The can't leads to I'm not, which is I'm not working out today, which doesn't get anybody anywhere.
Yeah, and I got to admit, I mean, thanks to you and this podcast and talking this stuff through all the time, I've changed my tune a lot on that, slowly, but it was, back in the day, I would go out on these hot runs, and like you're saying, that masochistic side comes out, and you just need to go, punish yourself and in the training process, and this whole lifting to fail concept, I think is one of these things where if you're going to be a bodybuilder, and you just all you care about is shredding and looking good or whatever, maybe. But are we talking about holistic, whole body experience and feeling good all the time and being able to perform and just not stand there and look, like you got muscles coming on top of muscles, That, to me, is the difference. It's the performance side of it and the ability to go do stuff and feel good.
Yep.
Because you talk about, Erica came on and talked about bodybuilding and how it just kind of destroys your wholeness. And, it's all about starving and lifting to fail and crushing your muscles and letting them rebuild and something. You can't, it's like that is it. And again, triathlon isn't it. It should be an enhancement and make life easier and more enjoyable. So
yeah, and I've used this analogy before when we talked about like coaching and the relationship you should have with athletes, and whether you're a coach, whether you are coached, whether you self-coach, like I am a hammer with my athletes, but I'm not the end of the hammer you think I am. I'm not the blunt end that it's used to drive the hammer in. 99 times out of 100, I'm actually the reverse. I'm the end that helps pry the nail out. And preventing them from going too hard and going too hard too often and overdoing it. It's just that it's all about balance. And we drive that home a lot, but it's you can't really drive it home enough because we almost always need a daily reminder.
Mm-hmm. Is it raining there?
It just started pouring rain. Yeah, I'm outside on the balcony.
Oh man, that sounds soothing.
Yeah,
this is like
it kind of is.
Just let the rain take over for a few minutes.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this podcast and it's 8 p.m. and your lights are dimmed and your blue light control is on your phone, take a minute, take a deep breath, let all the stress remove from your life. Remember how things were when you used to train. And when you got into triathlon, and let those feelings of inadequacy, an open water swim fear, and not making the bike cut off, leave your body in throughout your fingers and throughout your toes. See how much better you feel? You're welcome. And now back to our regular schedule programming.
Well, man, yeah, I just kind of dozed off there.
You dozed out there for a second,
dude. I think we might have a side business for you.
We might, well, yeah. So we might just kind of edit that part out and make that like a separate cast you can download and put on repeat the night before your race. We'll do like a soothing pre-race Ironman meditation.
Oh, dude, I like that. We're gonna do it.
But yeah, it started pouring. Hayden's inside with my mom and Allie. So, but hey, what better time than now since everybody's soothed through you know what, dude, we can't even do that, the meditation thing, because I'm sure Ironman's gonna start selling like an Ironman meditation mask on their freaking website. We're gonna get 7 emails about it a week. Purchase 55% off your Ironman Texas 70.3 meditation training mask.
Yeah, not if we beat them to it.
Exactly, and they're going to sell it for like $189.99, and people are going to buy it like it's going on a style. But speaking of races, 2019.
Yeah,
we have we were going to release now, as triathletes love to plan.
Ooh, this is way in advance, but it's good.
To nutrition, they love to plan, and so we are especially I know for our athletes too is we just recently opened up registration for our athletes for 2019 camps. We'll have 4 camps next year, and you can see those on the website. They're listed, and our athletes are as they should. They get a head start, and honestly, I'm hoping that there's still some availability to the general public after they get their hands on them, because it is they've been up for like 48 hours and we've already got like 25 people registered for the 4 different camps. But I know a lot of people are waiting to plan their camp schedule with their race schedule, and while there is no huge hurry in terms of signing up for most races, which I think is great. I know it can resemble a decline in the sport, but I think it's actually nice that people don't have to plan their year so early. But for camps, it is nice to plan in terms of when I want to have the camp and when I want to peak and when it's best for me for the year. So we will let out our 3 main C26 Crushing Iron team races for next year on this podcast right now, and in the Thursday podcast we'll announce our 3 regional races. So this won't be nearly as exciting as your Ironman Louisville reveal, which I think is our most downloaded, viewed video ever. I was searching YouTube the other day for some YouTube clips on just Ironman finishes, and like the first thing that popped up was Mike Tirali announces he will be doing Ironman Louisville in 2019 as the number 1 concert. No, it wasn't. I was just kidding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just giving you another title for the podcast, but
it's a matter of time. I need to tag.
Yeah, so you want to have at the first one?
Well, yeah. Let's. Two things though. I want to reiterate that these 3 races are races that you and I are both planning on doing and being at. The
Right.
3 other announcement races, regional races, are one or the other or both. Maybe we'll be at them.
Be there. Yep.
So this is the first phase. We're still, the reason we're not announcing the other ones is because we're just not sure yet. We've got a couple ideas.
We know 2 of the 3, I think, pretty much nailed down, but we're waiting on confirmation of what could be breaking news.
Yes.
Majority of the triathlon.
So where should we start? Should we go from? We're doing an Olympic, a half, and a full.
Olympic, a half and a full.
Should we start with the Olympic?
I think you read my mind, man, as usual.
All right, so next year for our Olympic, and again, this is sort of based on a lot of where we have a lot of people, a lot of active athletes that we're coaching, and podcast listens and things of that nature. And, of course, in some ways, it helps that it's, closer to Nashville.
Yeah, somewhat. So we're not traveling the entire summer.
Yeah, with all the camps, and it looks like we may be potentially adding another camp. I'm just kidding. But anyway, so let's go ahead. The Olympic. Where are we going for this Olympic?
We're going to Louisville.
We're going to Louisville.
We are going to Louisville.
Another Louisville, man. They are just getting some serious love.
We have they have an Olympic there called Tri Louisville. And we will be doing that in 2019 as our team race. Louisville has been good to us. We have a huge athlete base in Louisville and in Kentucky in general. And we also have a very big athlete. Yeah, we do. Honestly, we have that's probably our biggest concentration of athletes is right around that area, and so we're doing our best to meet them where they are. And so, our Olympic next year will be the Tri Louisville 2019 Olympic distance. I believe they also offer a sprint distance as well. So either or, but we will be there. And again, that's right in the wheelhouse of a big chunk of our athletes.
Mm-hmm. Be a great place to get to know a lot of our athletes, and they will lay down the hospitality, I am sure.
Oh, for sure. Homestay is out the yin yang.
Yeah.
So. After that, we have another 70.3 we picked.
Mm-hmm.
And where are we going, Mike?
Well, it's kind of hard not to do this. But we are going back to Chattanooga for 70.3. And we had huge numbers there this year. It's a really good location. We've got a lot of people in Atlanta and the Southeast in general that are podcast listeners, athletes, and it seemed pretty accessible. We love Chattanooga. We love the downtown. We love the hospitality there as well, and it's just a great race, and everybody enjoyed it. And we think, why mess with a winner?
Yeah, I totally agree. I know a lot of people don't like doing the same race over and over again, but we had a great turnout. Chattanooga is a great city. The race management there puts on an incredible event. It's in a great time of year too, in May. And again, Chattanooga, if you've never done it, you're missing out. It's a great event. I rarely ever hear that, if any, negative comments about it. But yeah, and I think a lot of our athletes that were there this last year would like to go back and have another crack at it. This last year, they don't. Listen, I'm always a huge fan of doing the same course at least twice because it gives you a really good barometer. Listen, you can course preview all you want to, but racing a course is so different. Plus, the just insane heat that we got this last year, which was very uncharacteristic of Nashville in May. Would like another crack at it. And hey, sometimes you got to go back and defend your championship. And nothing wrong with going back and defending our Tri-Club championship and second overall. So we will be back in Chattanooga in May.
So Ironman, you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back.
We had almost 50 people there. We had 27 athletes, I think, and 50 people from this group, the closed group on Crushing Iron. When you search for Crushing Iron group on Facebook, make sure you put the group on there, because that's what gets you into the closed group.
Yep. Got to be a groupie.
You got to be a groupie.
And the last of our announcements today, the third installment, a full Ironman, one that I know is both near and dear to you and I's hearts, and a lot of our listeners' hearts, and is, it is our gesture into making this race great again.
Yes, it is. And we, again, we'd love to travel around the world and everything like that, but we've sort of built a base in, the Midwest and the Mid-South and Southeast and things like that, Northeast a little bit. And so where are we going to go next year for our full Ironman that you and I are both racing?
Ironman, Wisconsin.
Wow. That does give me
Make
chills.
Ironman, Wisconsin great again.
Yeah.
We can't promise you we'll bring it back to a mass start. But, Ironman, Wisconsin is an incredible race. If you've never done it, is it a hard course? It absolutely is. But it's in a great time of year, which is in September. And it was Mike and I's first race that we worked together for, almost, 5-6 years ago. And we both there this last year. And Madison is an incredible city, and it's an incredible race. And I would love to go back. So, but yeah, like you said, listen, we'll definitely eventually get to, more broader international races. But hey, man, we do this for free. We are not loaded yet. But so we do the best we can with where the people we are that we have now. But I'm pumped for Wisconsin. Love the race. Love the venue. Madison is one of my favorite cities in general, and it's a winner. So that'll be our Ironman for next year. I'm excited about it. I love it. I love the city, and I want another crack at it too.
Yeah.
I feel like I was in pretty good shape 2 years ago when I did it 7 weeks post Hayden.
Yeah.
And was happy with it. But it's my second favorite finish outside of Louisville, but it is without question, and it's not even close, the most overall spectator friendly course from start to finish that I've ever done in my entire life, and that includes sprints, Olympics, halves, and fulls. And I'm sure you'd agree with me. I mean, it's just from start to finish, it is insanely spectator friendly, and you will see people cheering like they can't think of, like, most towns and most cities like find ways that some of these events are like an inconvenience to their town. And Madison, I think, above any other one I've ever been to, they couldn't imagine what that weekend would be like if they didn't have it. Yeah. I think people like block it out and are pumped, and like they really get into it. So I think it's a wonderful, wonderful event, and excited to go back.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. And there's a couple other reasons. One of the main, we have a really nice following in Minnesota, a huge listenership base in the Chicago area, and of course Wisconsin as well. So that's what sort of led to our decision there. And not only that, I know personally probably 10 people who have been, saying that they've always been thinking about, from around here or, kind of far away or whatever, been thinking about that have done multiple Ironman races, and they've been thinking about Wisconsin for a long time. And hopefully maybe that'll help convince a lot of people we know to actually take that step and
stop thinking and get
it. Yeah.
Yep, stop thinking and get going, and maybe we'll try and register a block of rooms like we did for Chattanooga 7.3. Same thing in Madison, where that Best Western that we got was just on point for a while. But yeah, that's where we're going. And again, those are our 3 main team races. And then on Thursday, we'll announce our other regional races, which I'm also super pumped about. So I'm excited for all races. And start your planning, start your registering, and get excited because we are.
Yeah, for sure we are. That feels good.
It does feel good.
And it's sort of where we buttered our bread.
Hey, it's how we get. Listen, man. It's how we got started. Mm-hmm. It's really as an homage to how we got started and how our first year has been, and so, and our regional races will be even more of an expansion onto trying to do our best. And I totally agree with you. And you said it great. It's like, while we wish we could go everywhere and do like extravagant like bucket list races and the Europe and whatever, like we also have to be kind of responsible. And I've got a family and a 2-year-old, and who knows what life will bring next year for our family with or without another kid, and so we have camps, and our athletes are our utmost our utmost importance to us and our focus, and our regional races will be a even further step into you and I's commitment to making our rounds to both our athletes and our listenership.
Yeah.
Is that a word? Listenership?
Sure it is.
Sweet.
I think so. And, we're not business moguls by any stretch of the imagination. But one thing we do know is that I think that most enterprises usually get out of sorts when they try to overreach. So that's another reason why we're kind of staying in the pocket of what got us going, what started us, and what's within reach. And we're going to, throw out some feelers as we move on. But for now, we're sitting in the kind of our sweet spot for the races we know, the cities we know, the people we know, and things like that.
And let's be honest, they're great races.
Yeah, they are.
So, and they're great, fair, challenging races, and those are the courses that we like to pick. We like to pick races that aren't easy, that aren't pancake flat 24/7. So, and I think you'll see that when we talk about our regional races. But
and one more thing, the other thing that you always talk about, and I don't, but it's like the family experience. These cities all offer really nice situations for family experience.
Mm-hmm.
Downtown Chattanooga, downtown Louisville, downtown Madison. There is a ton going on in and around these races that would make a awesome vacation for any family. And we'll have our meditation music out by then, and you can just put, you can,
yeah. Hey,
maybe I'll get Kenny on that. Ooh, if he can make some music.
Yeah, dude, listen. If you want us to travel internationally, then you're going to have to download our new Crushing Iron meditation app for $9.99.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll help us. You want to make
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to make that that part of it the experience, then $9.99 it is.
Or if you want to support the podcast and help this travel happen, we have a pledge tab at crushingiron.com. It's a one-time pledge opportunity to support the podcast. It's one of the ways that helps us, keep this operation going.
That's right.
It's simple.
Simple, man.
It's really simple. It's got a nice little smiley face on it, and you feel good about it. I feel good. Well, I did do it. I donated once, and you're like, man,
oh yeah, cheap. That's right, you did.
It was like,
$5
or something. But
yep, it's true.
There's opportunity to donate whatever you want. Almost, not much.
Almost.
There's a limit.
Yeah, so true.
So if you want to write and give us more, you have to write a check.
That's right. Except those two. But no, we appreciate you listening. Hope you're excited as we are about A, our new meditation app, B, about the races for 2019. Again, we'll have more camp info out closer to open registration. And but yeah, we will come to you, and we'll see you Thursday for some more races announced and more exciting, insightful discussion that we hope. And we will see you then.
It sounds good, man. Why don't you go enjoy your vacation?
I'll try, dude.
All right. I will talk to you later this week.
Sounds good, buddy. See ya.
Yep.